And we've got ambulances. I mean, this is really one of the worst conditions that you can possibly film at.
Welcome back to another episode of Sound 101. I'm Andrew from Deity Microphones, and today's episode is all about location scouting. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go meet up with Ben Kies. He was the sound mixer we had on that lavalier episode, and he's going to show us how he location scouts for shoots. So the big Hollywood movies, the heads of department will get an opportunity, usually like a week or two before the shoot, to go in and look at the locations and actually come up with a game plan on how they're going to tackle it for the day of. Now, when you go out to these locations, you want to go the exact same time of day. That way you know the different kinds of traffic patterns that are going to happen. I'm talking foot traffic, I'm talking car traffic, airplane traffic, all the different kinds of noises that could happen at that set externally from the location. Now, on top of that, let's talk about the indie side. You may not have weeks of preparation, you may have a day of preparation. And while you may not be able to go at the exact same time, a lot of things are easily predictable, as you'll see in this episode.
Well, Ben, we are at our first location, and I mean, my goodness, isn't it a gorgeous one? On camera, this is an iconic location, right? They love to film at big giant monuments. They love to film in public places that people recognize. And this, for us today, is Santa Monica Pier.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It looks great on camera, but how does it sound?
This is one of the more difficult locations I've ever done, especially because we just have so much environment around us. On locations like this, there's a lot of things that we can't control. Highway traffic on the PCH, people scooting by with boom boxes and such. Not to mention this crow that we've heard calling for the past about 10 minutes now.
But what are some tools though at a big location like this that we can use to kind of get the good audio that we're looking for?
Well, the first thing I'm thinking about is a long shotgun mic. With shotguns, the longer the barrel, the better the rejection, the more laser focus is gonna be on just your talent.
So you're looking for that nice low bar pickup pattern.
Absolutely. Something like an indoor shotgun is gonna have too wide of a spread, and that's gonna pick up reflections of all of this noise going all over the place. But if you can get yourself like a 3-foot shotgun, that's gonna get you a laser focus right on your talent's mouth.
What else would you bring to this location to kind of get the best audio possible?
Well, I'm thinking about lavalier mics. The ones that we use most are omnidirectional because they have the best fidelity, they have the best sound quality. In a situation like this where we need rejection, I would look towards finding cardioid lav mics that we can get pretty close to the source of our sound. That would be something I would even talk to costumes about to figure out what my talent's wearing. If it's a plunging V, then I know I have more challenges.
That's where you're going right back to that shotgun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Both two items that are kind of specialty items. Like, I only own one cardioid lavalier, my whole kit. We need to kind of sit down and talk about the special rentals for that location.
That's the first thing that we do is we'll talk to our line producer and say, hey, if this is really the location we want and we want to make this successful, these are the tools I need. Here's a few quotes of how much that's gonna be, or if it's in my kit, this is how much I rent it for.
So let me actually take you down into the beach and let's talk about how that is gonna be slightly different than up here.
All right, sounds good.
Now hold up, I understand. That's easy to do when you're Ben and he's got a big production that he is working with and he is talking about rentals and line producers and all these wonderful things. But you and I, we may not have that. If you're doing that indie project, you're doing this short film, here's my one tip. Use your underboom skills. So the ceiling, if it's above you and it's completely quiet, no airplanes are flying by, use an underboom technique. And your second free tip, I'll just give it to you real quick. Schedule your shoot on not popular days. So, back to the film.
So Ben, we are now 1,000 feet away from where we literally just were, but there's a new issue that you and I first immediately noticed when we got down here, and what is that?
Wind. For sure, wind.
Absolutely. Now, what do we got to think about when it comes to wind down here?
Well, the first thing is that there is nothing blocking that wind for us. Air is going to be moving around here like crazy. So the first thing that I'm thinking is I want to get windscreens on all of my microphones, especially my lavs. And with my shotgun, I want to think about, do I have a blimp? Because at this point, I don't think winds are going to be slow enough that just a normal windscreen is going to work. I think I need to get some fur and some space on this thing to really protect it.
When you're talking about space, you're talking about like creating an air pocket around your microphone.
Yes, exactly, and that's what the blimp does. I have a shock mount in there with a pistol grip style that suspends my microphone in space and then encloses it around. We call it a blimp because it looks like a blimp. It's just a big old capsule area around my microphone that we can also wrap a dead cat around, which is essentially a giant windscreen. It's sort of like a sheet, feels like a dead cat.
There's something else though that I think you and I both immediately noticed, and that was the airplanes out here. How do we kind of handle that?
I mean, we can fight that with shotguns and pick up directionality, but sometimes in those cases, you just need to tell production, we need to wait until this passes by.
And knowing that on a scout, they can have that heads up going in to schedule their day. And it's gonna be a wait, and now we're rolling again. Let's talk about the water now. What kind of issues are we gonna have with water and the dust?
All of your microphones, all of your electronics are very susceptible to moisture, to humidity, and we want to make sure that we're protecting our gear as much as possible. You maybe even want to consider unlubricated condoms.
Okay.
Because they're perfect. They stretch, they go right over your mic packs, and they protect all the electronics in there, and they absolutely stop water from traveling through the membrane.
Always practice safe sound. But now, Ben, I'm gonna take you to a completely different kind of setup, a suburban house. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Ben, we're at this gorgeous suburban house.
Yeah.
Not traditionally something that we'd have to worry about, right? I mean, it is a spitting image of what we think an ideal location is. But we still need to kind of location scout it. And for what are we looking for?
Morning shoots and evenings when people are coming home or leaving for work. We gotta be a little bit mindful about noise. Another big one for me, honestly, especially in a big place like this that you could tell gets taken care of landscape-wise, is yard work, leaf blowers.
So we got to schedule our shoot around the landscapers who may not be on this property, but maybe the neighbors' properties.
Yes, exactly.
So let's dive more into the topic of landscapers, in case you didn't line up your schedules. And it's actually a pretty simple one. Bribe them. Use some of your petty cash, approach them and say, hey, can we pay you guys to not use your loud equipment for 1 hour or so you can get some clean dialogue takes, and at the very least, save you a lot of money in post. Another tip that goes a long way is introduce them to your craft table and show them where your snacks are and let them go and enjoy themselves. That's going to build up a wonderful relationship with the landscape crew in case you're there for multiple days and they actually work on multiple houses throughout that week.
On a location like this, most of production is probably going to take over the yard. So I want to find a quiet space that's away from all of that hopefully I won't have to reposition from. Especially if we're shooting indoors, I want to find a nice central location that doesn't take up too much space, that is out of the way of all the action, that I can keep my cart and throw cables and not need to adjust them too much. That'll reach pretty much anywhere in the house that we're gonna be.
Now, what kind of qualifications does that room need to have for you?
For me, I would love to have a door. That's the biggest thing for me. I want a quiet space that I can be to myself and I can hear. I could even set up in a bathroom if it's big enough. I can throw my cart in there. I can set up my entire rig in there and just be rolling when I need to, and throw my cables out to wherever they're going to be recording.
To your boom operator, your antenna cables, that kind of thing, right? Let's actually go take a look at something here on the outside of the house that kind of speaks to the nature of shooting at a home.
Sure.
And that is, let's take a look at this corner where we actually found some wires that were run on the outside. Can you talk to me about, as soon as you spot this, what does that mean for you?
This tells me that the exterior walls of this home are pretty thick.
I mean, they didn't even want to run the cables through the wall.
Exactly. So if we have RF traveling through any of these walls, it's going to mute that radio signal pretty badly. So I want to either find a location where I don't need to go through these walls, or I want to run a cable out and set up an antenna close to the action so that I don't need to have this as an obstacle to my RF pitch.
Oh, that's why you got to scout.
Yep.
You got to know that that's going to happen. That just happened.
Ironically enough, we did not scout this location, and we had some miscommunication with the actual location owner, and they left like 10 minutes before we arrived. So that's why you don't see us actually enter the house. But things that you should look for in a house when you are location scouting is things like a noisy refrigerator. If it's an old refrigerator, the compressor on it may kick in really loud, and something you need to really consider. Tip for that, by the way, take your car keys and go put them in the freezer. That way, when you go to leave the location, you can't because you don't have your keys. You go, yes, they're in the freezer. Let's go turn the refrigerator back on. So there's a little tip for you while location scouting, things to look for in houses. You're going to look for things like air conditioners, refrigerators, anything that can rattle, make noise. You can do little things to get rid of that.
So Ben, I got one more location. So let's go take a look right now and you show us what we need to be looking for.
Cool, let's do it.
So Ben, we are now in what it feels like a similar kind of location than we were just in, except for now we have the cart because we're actually here looking for something completely different than just an audible kind of noise.
When we're shooting in a location like this, like big old park, one of the first things I'm looking for is where can I put my stuff?
Okay.
And so for me, I brought my utility cart so I can work off of it and I can tote my stuff around really easy. But also, we're in a big open space, so we don't have any defense against radio towers.
Okay.
We could see a bunch of them right in the distance right over there.
Yeah.
And they are clearly broadcasting right at us.
Yeah, oh yeah.
One of the biggest challenges we have as location sound engineers is that we're using radio frequencies on our wireless mics, which means we're using the same spectrum as those guys over there who are broadcasting your TV stations to your TVs at home.
So I see we've got something called an RF Explorer for you guys. Now, what exactly does this do?
Well, this guy is my frequency sniffer. He's, right now, he's showing me a little example of what's going on in the air around us and telling us these are probably places that we shouldn't go. And we can see here, there is a little pocket of space right there where we may be able to fit 1 or 2 mics.
Okay.
But it doesn't give me too many details about these other pockets around here.
But I see you have it hooked up to a laptop via USB cable.
Exactly.
What is this for?
Well, if I'm on a shoot that has more than like 2 lavs, I want to get a more detailed report of what's going on in my airwaves so that I know really where I can fit my mics.
Okay.
So this is a piece of software called Touchstone made by the same people as RF Explorer.
Okay.
And what this does is it really blows up in detail a good report of what's going on in my airwaves.
Okay, so that's going to allow you to do more than just 2 and actually allow you to work faster when you're doing your location scouting.
Exactly. Not only that, but I can actually take a stamp of what's going on in my space right here, and I can plug that into other software that can help me calculate intermodulation.
So like Freak Finder, that would be the app that is on your phone that allows you to input all the actual microphones you have, and it tells you if the next one that you plug in is going to be okay or intermod with the others that you've already put in there.
Yep, there are many forums that exist on the internet now where we can communicate with other location sound scouts from across the world. Say if I'm going to be working in another state or another country, and I was able to reach out to those guys and say, hey, have you been to these locations? They were able to send me scans of what it looked like at those locations, and I was able to plug it in here with my mics and figure out exactly how I wanted to have that set up before I ever stepped onto location.
So you knew exactly actress 1, she's going to be this frequency, actor 1, he's going to be this frequency. I mean, that's organized. That's pretty amazing. And it sounds like a good location scout can result in a smoother production. So Ben, I've got to get back to the studio. I've got to wrap this up. This has been amazing. It's always fun hanging out with you.
Good seeing you, man.
Later, man.
Well, that is our episode. We hit up 3 very different kinds of locations, and yet Ben was still able to show us some really good tips that we need to think about when we shoot at a place like that. If you like content like this, don't forget that bell for notifications, but you can only do that if you hit that subscribe button first, which you should do. If you like content like this, don't forget to hit in the comment section and tell us what we need to be doing more in these kinds of episodes. We love making content that you guys request, and that's where we get a lot of our ideas for these episodes. Best comment is going to win a WLAV because we really want you guys to get some good audio with your wireless systems out there. I'm Andrew from Deity Microphones. Thank you for watching.